background.
I like it. Have a Scott's background. Getting Andre the Giant.
All right, we are live on YouTube. Welcome to
Lord.
Theater. We are the Quarantine Theater Company, and we will be reading William Goldman's The Princess Bride. All right, and I'm not going to read every single stage direction, but I'll just read like the setup and then let you guys do your thing. Fade in on a video game in progress. A kid is lying in bed, coughing, pale, a sick cookie. Maybe he's 7 or 8 or 9. He holds a remote in one hand, and the video game moves a little bit. Then he's hit by another spasm of coughing and puts the remote down. His room is monochromatic, grays and blues, fairly modern. This is a middle-class house somewhere in the suburbs. The kid's mother enters, goes to him, fluffs his pillows, and briefly feels his forehead. She's worried it doesn't show.
You feeling any better?
A little bit.
Your grandfather is here.
Mom, can't you tell him that I'm sick?
You are sick. That's why he's here.
He'll pinch my cheek. I hate that.
Well, maybe he won't.
The kid's grandfather bursts into the room, kind of rumpled. His eyes are bright. He has a wrapped package tucked under one arm, and he immediately goes to the kid and pinches his cheek.
Hey, how's the sickie, huh?
I think I'll leave you two pals.
I brought you a special present.
What is it?
Open it up.
A book?
That's right. When I was your age, television was called books. And this is a special book. It was the book my father used to read to me when I was sick, and I used to read it to your father. And today, I'm gonna read it to you.
Has it got any sports in it?
Are you kidding? Fencing, fighting, torture, revenge, giants, monsters, chases, escapes, true love, miracles.
It doesn't sound too bad. I'll try and stay awake.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's very nice of you. Your vote of confidence is overwhelming. All right. The Princess Bride by S. Morgenstern, Chapter 1. Buttercup was raised on a small farm in the country of Florin. Her favorite pastimes were riding her horse and tormenting the farm boy that worked there. His name was Wesley, but she never called him that. Isn't that a wonderful beginning?
Yeah, it's really good.
Nothing gave Buttercup as much pleasure as ordering Wesley around.
Cut to Buttercup's farm. Buttercup is standing, holding the reins of her horse, while in the background is Wesley in the stable doorway. He looks at her. Buttercup is in her late teens, doesn't care much about clothes, and she hates brushing her long hair. So she isn't as attractive as she might be, but she's still probably the most beautiful woman in the world.
Irma boy, polish my horse's saddle. I want to see my horse's face shining in it by morning.
As you wish.
Wesley is perhaps half a dozen years older than Buttercup, and maybe as handsome as she is beautiful. He gazes at her as she walks away.
As you wish was all he ever said to her.
Wesley is chopping wood, and Buttercup drops 2 large buckets near him.
Farmer boy, fill these with water, please.
As you wish.
That day, she was amazed to discover that when he was saying, as you wish, what he meant was, I love you.
Wesley enters with an armload of firewood.
And even more amazing was the day she realized she truly loved him back.
Farm boy, fetch me that picture.
As you wish.
Hold it, hold it. What is this? Are you trying to trick me? Where's the sports? Is this a kissing book?
Wait, just wait.
Okay. Well, when does it get good?
Keep your shirt on. Let me read. Wesley had no money for marriage, so he packed his few belongings and left the farm to seek his fortune across the sea. It was a very emotional time for Buttercup.
I don't believe this.
I fear I'll never see you again.
Of course you will.
But what if something happens to you?
Hear this now. I will come for you.
But how can you be so sure?
This is true love. You think this happens every day?
He smiles at her and she smiles too. She throws her arms so tightly around him, they kiss. Then, as Wesley walks away, Buttercup watches him go.
Wesley didn't reach his destination. His ship was attacked by the dread pirate Roberts, who never left captives alive. When Buttercup got the news that Wesley was murdered,
Murdered by pirates is good.
she went into her room and shut the door, and for days she neither slept nor ate.
I will never love again.
Dissolved to Florin Castle, the main courtyard of Florin is replete with townspeople, livestock, and a bustling marketplace.
5 years later, the main square of Florin City was filled as never before to hear the announcement of the great Prince Humperdinck's bride-to-be.
Cut to Prince Humperdinck, a man of incredible power and bearing, standing in his royal robes on a castle balcony. 3 others are standing behind him, an old couple with crowns, the king and queen, and a dark bearded man who seems to be the prince's match in strength. This is Count Rogan.
My people, a month from now, our country will have its 500th anniversary. On that sundown, I shall marry a lady who was once a commoner like yourselves, but perhaps you will not find her common now. Would you like to meet her?
Yes.
Yes.
My people, the Princess Buttercup.
Buttercup descends the stairs and starts to move amongst the people. The crowd does a very strange thing. With no instruction at all, they suddenly go to their knees, great waves of people kneeling. Buttercup is terribly moved. She stands immobile among her subjects, blinking back tears. Hold on her beauty for a moment.
Buttercup's emptiness consumed her. Although the law of the land gave Humperdinck the right to choose his bride, she did not love him.
Buttercup is in the woodlands, barreling along, controlling her horse.
Despite Humperdinck's reassurance that she would grow to love him, the only joy she found was in her daily ride.
A lovely, quiet, deserted glen, Buttercup suddenly reins in as 3 men are standing close together in the path.
A word, my lady.
Beyond them can be seen the waters of Florin Channel. The 3 men are not your everyday commuter types. Standing in front is a tiny man with the most angelic face. He is Sicilian, and his name is Vicini. Beside him is a Spaniard, erect and taut as a blade of steel. His name is Inigo Montoya. Beside him is a giant. His name is Fessick.
We are but poor, lost circus performers. Is there a village nearby?
There is nothing nearby, not for miles.
Then there will be no one to hear you scream.
Fessick reaches over, touches a nerve on Buttercup's neck, and the start of a scream is all she manages. Unconsciousness comes that fast, and she starts to fall. On a tiny isolated spot at the edge of the Florin Channel, the sailboat is moored. It's dusk now, shadows are long. Inigo the Spaniard busies himself getting the boat ready. The giant Fessick carries Buttercup unconscious on board. Vicini rips some tiny pieces of fabric from an army jacket and tucks them along the saddle of Buttercup's horse. There's about the entire operation a sense of tremendous skill and precision.
What is that you were ripping?
It's fabric from the uniform of an army officer of Gilda.
Who's Gilda?
The country across the sea, the sworn enemy of Florin. Go! Once the horse reaches the castle, the fabric will make the prince suspect the Gildarians have abducted his love. When he finds her body dead on the Gilda frontier, his suspicions will be totally confirmed.
You never said anything about killing anyone.
I've hired you to help me start a war. That's a prestigious line of work with a long and glorious tradition.
I just don't think it's right, killing an innocent girl.
Am I going mad? Or did the word think escape your lips? You were not hired for your brains, you hippopotamotic landmass.
I agree with Physic.
Oh, the sot has spoken. What happens to her is not truly your concern. I will kill her. And remember this, never forget this. When I found you, you were so slobbering drunk you couldn't buy brandy. And you, friendless, brainless, helpless, hopeless. Do you want me to send you back to where you were, unemployed in Greenland?
Inigo has gone close to Fezzik, who is very distressed at the insults he just received.
That's Vizzini. He can fuss.
What? What? I think he'd like to scream at us.
Probably he means no harm.
He's really very short on charm.
You've got a great gift for rhyme.
Yes, some of the time.
Enough of that.
Fezzik, are those rocks ahead?
If there are, we'll all be dead.
No more rhymes now, I mean it.
Anybody want a peanut?
Dissolved to the sailboat, racing across the dark waters. Inigo is at the helm. Fezzik stands near the body of the princess, whose eyelids flutter slightly. Or do they? Vizzini sits motionless. The waves are higher. There are only occasional flashes of moon slanting down between the clouds.
We'll reach the cliffs by dawn. Why are you doing that?
Making sure nobody's following us.
That would be inconceivable.
Despite what you think, you will be caught. And when you are, the prince will see you all hanged.
Of all the necks on this boat, Highness, the one you should be worrying about is your own. Stop doing that! We can all relax. It's almost over.
You're sure nobody's following us?
As I told you, it would be absolutely, totally, and in all other ways inconceivable. No one in Gilder knows what we've done, and no one in Florin could have gotten here so fast. Out of curiosity, why do you ask?
Oh, no reason. It's only I just happened to look behind us and something is there.
What?
In the darkness, it's hard to see. The moon is behind the clouds, but the wind whistles and the waves pound. And suddenly, it all goes ominous. Inigo, Fezzik, and Vizzini are squinting back, trying desperately to see. At this moment, they are all holding their breaths. In the darkness, there is still nothing to be seen. It's ominous, only now it's eerie, too. The moon slips through, and Inigo was right. Something is very much there. A sailboat, black, with a great billowing sail. It's a good distance behind them, but it's coming like hell, closing the gap.
Probably some local fisherman out for a pleasant cruise at night through eel-infested waters.
Buttercup dives into the water, starts to swim away.
Go in! Get after her!
I don't swim.
I only dog paddle.
Veer left! Left, left, left!
The wind dies, and as it does, something new is heard, a not too distant, high-pitched shrieking sound. Buttercup stops suddenly, treading in the water.
Do you know what that sound is, Highness? Those are the shrieking eels. If you doubt me, just wait. They'll always grow louder when they're about to feed on human flesh.
Buttercup is still not far from the boat, and the shrieking sound is getting louder and more terrifying. Buttercup stays silent.
If you swim back now, I promise no harm will come to you. I doubt you will get much the same offer from the eels.
Buttercup is a gutsy girl, but the shrieking sound is getting louder. She doesn't make a sound. Behind her now, something dark and gigantic slithers past. She's scared, sure petrified. Who wouldn't be? But she makes no reply. And now a shrieking eel has zeroed in on her. And now she sees it, a short distance away, circling, starting to close in. And Buttercup is frozen, trying not to make a movement. The eel slithers closer and closer, and Buttercup knows it now. There's nothing she can do. It's over. It's over. And now the eel opens its mouth wide, and it's never made such a noise, and its great jaws are about to clamp down.
She doesn't get eaten by the eels at this time.
What?
The eel doesn't get her. I'm explaining to you because you looked nervous.
Well, I wasn't nervous. Well, maybe I was a little bit concerned, but that's not the same thing.
Because I can stop now if you want.
No, you could read a little bit more if you want.
Do you know what that sound is, Highness?
Those are the shrieking eels.
We're past that, Grandpa. You read it already.
Oh my goodness, I did. I'm sorry. Beg your pardon. All right, let's see. She was in the water. The eel was coming after her. She was frightened. The eel started to charge her. And then...
The shrieking eel's jaws are wide open, about to clamp down, but a giant arm pounds the eel unconscious in one move, then easily lifts Buttercup. The boat and Fessick, Buttercup are being deposited on the deck.
Put her down. Just put her down.
I think he's getting closer.
He's no concern of ours. Sail on. I suppose you think you're brave, don't you?
Only compared to some.
Dissolved to the boat at dawn, being followed closely by the black sailboat, which we can see for the first time is being sailed by a man in black, and his boat almost seems to be flying.
Look, he's right on top of us. I wonder if he's using the same wind we are using.
Whoever he is, he's too late. See? The cliffs of insanity.
The cliffs of insanity rise straight up, sheer from the water, impossibly high. The two sailboats in a wild race for the cliffs. The man in black is closing faster than ever, but not fast enough. The lead was too great to overcome, and as Inigo sails with great precision straight to the cliffs. The boat is being pursued.
Hurry up! Move the thing! That other thing! Move it! Oh, we're safe. Only Fezzik is strong enough to go up our way. He'll have to sail around for hours till he finds a harbor.
There's much activity going on. All of it is swift, expert, economical. Fessick reaches up along the cliff face and grabs a jutting rock, reaching behind it. Suddenly, there is a thick rope in his hands. He drops back to the boat and gives the rope a freeing swing. The rope goes all the way to the top. Hurrying to Fessick, Inigo straps a harness to him, then lifts Buttercup and Vicini into the harness. Finally, he himself gets on the harness. All three are strapped to Fessick like porpoises, like papooses. Like papooses. And as he starts to ascend the rope, carrying them all along with him. The man in black is sailing in towards the cliffs of insanity, watching as Fessick rises swiftly through the first moments of dawn. Fessick's group is only faintly visible far below. This is the first time we've gotten the real vertigo feeling, and it's Gasper. Fessick is climbing on. Buttercup is almost out of her mind with fear. Fessick is moving fast right along, however high they are. He's already over a third of the way down. The man in black leaps from his ship to the rope and starts to climb. He's impossibly far behind. But the way he goes, you'd think he didn't know that, because he is flying up the rope, hand over hand, like lightning.
He's climbing the rope. And he's gaining on us.
Inconceivable!
The man in black is roaring up the rope and cutting deeply into Fessick's lead.
Faster!
I thought I was going faster.
You were supposed to be this colossus. You were this great legendary thing, and yet he gains.
Well, I'm carrying 3 people, and he's only got himself.
I do not accept excuses. It's just going to have to find I'm just going to have to find myself a new giant. That's all.
Don't say that, Vicini, please.
and his arms begin to move slower. The man in black is still at work as before. If anything, he is sped up. Fessek's lead is smaller and smaller. From the top of the cliffs, maybe 100 feet for Fessek to go, maybe more.
Did I make it clear that your job is at stake?
The man in black is less than 100 feet behind them and still gaining. Vicini leaps off at the top of the cliff, taking out a knife and begins to cut the rope, which is tied around a great rock, while Inigo helps the princess to her feet and Fessek just stands around, waiting for someone to tell him to do something. Nearby are some stone ruins. Once they might have been a fort, now they kind of resemble Stonehenge. The man in black is feet from the top, maybe less, only 50 feet, and his pace is as dazzling as before, and Vicini cuts through the last of the ropes, slithering across the ground and out of sight towards the channel, like some great serpent at long last going home. Fessek stands with Inigo and Buttercup at the cliff's edge.
He has very good arms.
The man in black is hanging suspended hundreds of feet in the air, holding the jagged rocks, desperately trying to cling to life.
He didn't fall. Inconceivable!
You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. My God, he's climbing.
Very slowly, he is picking his way upwards.
Whoever he is, he's obviously seen us with the princess, and he must therefore die. You, carry her. We'll head straight for the Gilder frontier. Catch up when he's dead. If he falls, fine. If not, the sword.
I want to duel him left-handed.
You know what a hurry we're in.
Well, it's the only way I can be satisfied. If I use my right, over too quickly.
Oh, just have it your way.
Man in black is still creeping upward, and Fessek goes to Inigo.
You be careful. People in masks cannot be trusted.
I'm waiting.
Inigo watches them depart, then turns and peers down over the cliffs. He watches a moment, then paces, shaking his hand loose. He practices a few of his honed fencing skills. He is a taut and nervous fellow, and has never been one for waiting around. The man in black is still climbing on. He must be 6 inches closer to the top than he was before. Inigo walks away and finally goes back to the cliff's edge and starts to talk. It's instant death if the man in black falls, but neither gives that possibility much credence. This is our two heroes meeting. They don't know it yet, but that's what they are.
Hello there. Slow going.
Look, I don't mean to be rude, but this is not as easy as it looks. So I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't distract me.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I do not suppose you could speed things up a bit, eh?
If you're in such a hurry, you could lower a rope or a tree branch or find something useful to do.
Oh, I could do that. In fact, I've got some rope up here. But I do not think that you will accept my help since I am only waiting around to kill you.
That does put a damper on our relationship.
But I promise I will not kill you until you reach the top.
That's very comforting, but I'm afraid you'll just have to wait.
I hate waiting. I could give you my word as a Spaniard.
No good. I've known too many Spaniards.
You don't know any way you'll trust me?
Nothing comes to mind.
The camera zooms in on a close-up of Inigo. He raises his right hand, his eyes ablaze, and his voice takes on a tone we have not heard before.
I swear on the sword of my father, Domingo Montoya, you will reach the top alive.
Throw me the rope.
Inigo dashes to the giant rock the rope was originally tied to. His grip loosens a moment, and he tries to cling to the side of the cliff. Inigo, with a small coil of rope, hurries back to the edge and hurls it over. The rope hangs close to the man in black, and he releases the rock and grabs the rope and hangs helplessly in space for a moment. Then Inigo, straining, forces his body away from the cliff's edge, and the man in black rises through the early morning light, slowly and steadily, to the cliff's top. At last, they come within reach. Inigo watches the man in black crawl to safety and then looks at Inigo. And then looks.
Thank you.
We'll wait until you're ready.
Again, thank you.
The man in black sits to rest on the boulder that once held the rope. He tugs off his leather boots and is amazed to see several large rocks tumble out. The man in black wears gloves, and Inigo stares at him.
I do not mean to pry, but you don't by any chance happen to have 6 fingers on your right hand?
Do you always begin conversations this way?
My father was slaughtered by a 6-fingered man. He was a great sword maker, my father. And when the 6-fingered man appeared and requested a special sword by my father, he took the job. He slaved a year before he was done.
I've never seen its equal.
The 6-fingered man returned and demanded it. But at 1/10 his promised price. My father, he refused. Without a word, the 6-fingered man slashed him through the heart. I loved my father, so naturally challenged his murderer to a duel. I failed. The 6-fingered man did leave me alive with the 6-fingered sword, but he gave me these.
How old were you?
I was 11 years old. When I was strong enough, I dedicated my life to the study of fencing, so the next time we meet, I will not fail. I will go up to the 6-fingered man and say, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die."
You've done nothing but study swordplay?
More pursuit than study lately. You see, I cannot find him. It's been 20 years now. I am starting to lose confidence. I just worked for Vizzini to pay the bills. There's not a lot of money in revenge.
Well, I certainly hope you find him someday.
Oh, well, are you ready then?
Whether I am or not, you've been more than fair.
You seem a decent fellow. I really hate to kill you.
You seem a decent fellow. I hate to die.
Begin.
And on that word, what we are starting now is one of the 2 greatest sword fights in modern movies. And right from the beginning, it looks different because they aren't close to each other. None of the sword crossing is on garbage. No, what we have here is 2 men, 2 athletes, and they look to be too far away to damage each other. But each time one makes even the tiniest feat, the other counters, and there is silence as they start to circle. The 6-fingered sword is fighting here and fighting there. The 2 men are finished teasing and begin to duel in earnest. Their swords cross, then again and again. The sound comes so fast, it's almost continual. Inigo presses on, the man in black retreating up a rocky incline.
You're using Bonetti's defense against me, huh?
I thought it fitting, considering the rocky terrain.
Naturally, you must expect me to attack with Caparafero.
Naturally. But I find Thibault cancels out Capafero, don't you?
Unless the enemy is study is Agrippa, which I have.
The 2 men are almost flying across the rocky terrain, never losing balance, never coming close to stumbling. The battle rages with incredible finesse. First one and then the other gaining the advantage. And by now, it's clear that this isn't just 2 athletes going at it. It's a lot more than that. This is 2 legendary swashbucklers, and they're in their prime. It's Burt Lancaster and the Crimson Pirate, battling Errol Flynn in Robin Hood. And then incredibly, the action begins going even faster than before it was. Inigo is behind the man in black now, drawing closer all the time, is the deadly edge of the cliffs of insanity. Inigo fights and ducks and feints and slashes, and it all works, but not for long, as gradually the man in black keeps the advantage, keeps forcing Inigo back, closer and closer to death.
You are wonderful.
Thank you. I've worked hard to become so.
I admit it.
Very close.
You are better than I am.
Then why are you smiling?
Because I know something you don't.
And what is that?
I am not left-handed.
And he throws the six-fingered sword into his right hand, and immediately the tide of battle turns. The man in black is stunned, doing everything he can to keep Inigo by the cliff's edge, but no use. Slowly at first, he begins to retreat, now faster. Inigo is in control now, and the man in black is desperate. Inigo, with his six-fingered sword, is all but invisible now as he increases his attack, then suddenly switches styles again. A rocky staircase leads to a turret-shaped plateau, and the man in black is retreating like mad up the steps, and he can't stop Inigo. Nothing can stop Inigo. And in a frenzy, the man in black makes every feint. He tries every thrust, lets go with all he has left. But he fails. Everything fails. He tries one or two final desperate moves, but they are nothing.
You're amazing!
I ought to be after 20 years.
There's something I ought to tell you.
Tell me.
I'm not left-handed either!
And now he changes hands, and at last the battle is fully joined. Inigo, to his amazement, he is being forced back down the steps. He tries one style, another, but it all comes down to the same thing. The man in black seems to be in control. And before Inigo knows it, the six-fingered sword is knocked clear out of his hand. Inigo retreats and dives from the stairs to a moss-covered bar suspended over the archway. He swings out and lands and scrambles to his sword, as we see the man in black, who watches Inigo. Then casually tosses his sword to the landing, where it sticks perfectly. Then the man in black copies Inigo. Not copies exactly. He dives to the bar, swings completely over it like a circus performer, and dismounts with a backflip.
Who are you?
No one of consequence.
No. I must know.
Get used to disappointment.
Okay.
Inigo moves like lightning as he thrusts forward, slashes, darts back, all in almost a single movement. The man in black dodging, blocking, and again he thrusts forward faster than before, and again he slashes, but Inigo, and there is never a move anyone makes that he doesn't remember, and this time he blocks the slashes out himself with the six-fingered sword. On it goes, back and forth, across the rocky terrain, Inigo's feet moving with grace and speed of a great improvisational dancer. The six-fingered sword is knocked free, arching up into the air, and Inigo catches it again, and something terrible is written behind his eyes. He has given his all, done everything a man can do, tried every style, made every maneuver, but it wasn't enough, and on his face for all to see is the realization that he, Inigo Montoya of Spain, is going to lose. The man in black moves into the end, blocking everything, muzzling everything. The six-fingered sword is sent flying from Inigo's grip. He stands helplessly only a moment, then he drops to his knees and bows his head and shuts his eyes.
Kill me quickly.
I would as soon destroy a stained glass window as an artist like yourself. However, since I can't have you following me either.
And he ducks Inigo's head with a heavy sword handle. Inigo pitches forward unconscious.
Please understand, I hold you in the highest respect.
And with that, he grabs the scabbard and takes off after the princess, as we cut to Vicini.
Inconceivable!
Vicini is staring from a narrow mountain path as far below the man in black can be seen running. Besset, carrying the princess, stands alongside. It's a little later in the morning.
Give her to me. Catch up with us quickly.
What do I do?
Finish him, your way.
Oh, good, my way. Thank you, Vicini. Which way is my way?
Pick up one of those rocks, get behind the boulder, and in a few minutes, the man in black will come running around the bend. The minute his head is in view, hit it with the rock.
My way's not very sportsmanlike.
Oh.
The man in black comes racing up the mountain trail. Ahead is a bend in the trail. He sees it and slows. Then he stops listening. Satisfied by the silence, he starts to forward again. And as he rounds the bend, a rock flies into frame, shattering on a boulder inches away from him.
I did that on purpose. I don't have to miss.
I believe you. So what happens now?
We face each other as God intended. Swapping like, no tricks, no weapons, skill against skill alone.
You mean you'll put down your rock, and I'll put down my sword, and we'll try to kill each other like civilized people?
I could kill you now.
Frankly, I think the odds are slightly in your favor at hand fighting.
It's not my fault being the biggest and the strongest. I don't even exercise.
The man in black is not now and never has been a shrimp, but it's like he wasn't even there as Fezzik towers over him. There is a moment's pause, and then the man in black dives at Fezzik's chest and slams him several tremendous blows in the stomach, twists his arm severely, slips skillfully into a beautifully applied bear hug, and in general makes any number of terrific wrestling moves. But Fezzik just stands there, kind of taking in the scenery. Finally, the man in black pushes away and stares up at the giant.
Look, are you just fiddling around with me or what?
I just want you to feel you're doing well. I hate for people to die embarrassed.
And they begin again. Fezzik jumps forward with stunning speed for anyone his size and reaches for the man in black, who drops to his knees and spins loose and slips from the giant's legs.
Ow. You're quick.
And a good thing, too.
Why do you wear a mask? Were you burned by acid or something like that?
Oh, no. It's just that they're terribly comfortable. I think everyone will be wearing them in the future.
This movie was so ahead of its time. Fezzik considers this a moment, then attacks, and if he moved quickly last time, this time he is blinding. As the man in black slips down to avoid the charge, Fezzik moves right with him, only instead of twisting free and jumping to his feet, this time the man in black jumps for Fezzik's back, and in a moment he is riding behind him, and his arms have Fezzik's throat locked across Fezzik's windpipe, one in front and one behind. The man in black begins to squeeze tighter.
I just figured out why you give me so much trouble.
And as he charges toward a huge rock that lines the path, Fezzik reaches it as he spins his giant body so that the entire weight of the charge is taken by the man in black.
Why is that, do you think?
Well, I haven't fought just one person for so long. I've been specializing in groups, battling gangs for local heritage, that kind of thing.
Fezzik charges at another giant rock, but slower this time, but still a charge. And again, he spins and creams the man in black against a rough boulder.
Why should that make such a difference?
Well, you see, you use different moves when you're fighting half a dozen people. Then when you only have to be worried about one.
Fezzik slams the man against the boulder again, only this time his power has diminished, and Fezzik starts to slowly collapse. There isn't much breath coming. The man in black holds his grip as Fezzik tries to stand, halfway makes it, but there is no air. Back to his knees, he falls. He holds for a moment and pitches down to all fours. The man in black increases the pressure. Fezzik tries to crawl, but there is just no air, no air. Fezzik goes to earth and lies still. Fezzik, as the man in black turns him over, puts his ear to Fezzik's heart, and it's still beating. The man in black stands.
I don't envy you the headache you will have when you awake. But in the meantime, rest well and dream of large women.
And the man in black scoops up his sword and catches it and dashes off along the mountain path. Cut to Prince Humperdinck as he slips his boot into a footprint in the sand. Count Rogan is mounted and watches. Humperdinck is all over the rocky ground, and maybe he isn't the best hunter in the world. Then again, maybe he is. Because as he begins to put his feet into the strange positions, we realize that what he is doing is miming the fencers.
There was a mighty duel. It ranged all over. They were both masters.
Count Rogan.
Rogan.
Rugen, you're on.
Who's that?
Who's Rugen?
Jack, you better be Rugen.
All right, I guess I'll be Rogan. I know that part was a son. Who won? How did it end?
The loser ran off alone. The winner followed those footprints towards Gilda.
Shall we track them both?
The loser is nothing. Only the princess matters. Clearly, this was all planned by warriors of Gilda. We must be ready for whatever lies ahead.
Could this be a trap?
I always think everything could be a trap, which is why I'm still alive.
And they gallop off, return to the man in black cresting the peak of the mountains. A knife is pointed at the throat of Buttercup. She is blindfolded. A picnic is spread and laid out, a tablecloth, 2 goblets. The picnic is set on a lovely spot high on the edge of a mountain with a view all the way to the sea. The man in black comes running around the path and sees Vicini and slows. The 2 men study each other.
So, it is down to you, and it is down to me. If you wish her dead, by all means, keep moving forward.
Let me explain.
There's nothing to explain. You're trying to kidnap what I've rightfully stolen.
Perhaps an arrangement can be reached.
There will be no arrangement, and you are killing her.
But if there can be no arrangement, then we are at an impasse.
I'm afraid so. I can't compete with you physically, and you're no match for my brains.
You're that smart.
Let me put it this way. Have you ever heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates?
Yes.
Morons.
Really? In that case, I challenge you to a battle of wits.
For the princess? To the death? I accept.
Good. Then pour the wine.
As Vicini fills the goblets with the dark red liquid, the man in black pulls a small packet from his clothing and hands it to Vicini.
Inhale this, but do not touch.
I smell nothing.
What you do not smell is called iocane powder. It's odorless, tasteless, dissolves instantly in liquid, and is among the more deadlier poisons known to man.
Watching excitedly as the man in black takes the goblets and turns his back. A moment later, he turns again and faces Vicini and drops the iocane packet. It is now empty. The man in black rotates the goblets in a little shell game maneuver, then puts one glass in front of Vicini and the other in front of himself.
All right. Where is the poison? The battle of wits has begun. It ends when you decide and we both drink and find out who is right and who is dead.
But it's so simple. All I have to do is divine from what I know of you. Are you the sort of man who would put the poison into his own goblet or his enemies? Now, a clever man would put the poison into his own goblet because he would know that only a great fool would reach for what he is given. I'm not a great fool, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you. But you must have known I was not a great fool. You would have counted on it, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me.
You've made your decision then?
Not remotely. Because iocane comes from Australia, as everyone knows, and Australia is entirely peopled with criminals. And criminals are used to having people not trust them. As you are not trusted by me, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
Wait till I get going. Where was I?
Australia.
Yes, Australia. And you must have suspected I would have known the powder's origin, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me.
You're just stalling now.
You'd like to think that, wouldn't you? You've beaten my giant, which means you're exceptionally strong. So you could have put the poison in your own goblet, trusting on your strength to save you. So I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you. But you've also bested my Spaniard, which means you must have studied. And in studying, you must have learned that man is mortal. So you would have put the poison as far from yourself as possible. So I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me.
You're trying to trick me into giving something away. It won't work.
It has worked. You've given everything away. I know where the poison is.
Then make your choice.
I will. And I choose. What in the world can that be?
What? Where? I don't see anything.
Oh, well, I could have sworn I saw something. No matter.
What's so funny?
I'll tell you in a minute. First, let's drink. Me from my glass, you from yours.
They pick up their goblets and both start to drink. Vicini hesitates a moment, then allows the man in black to drink first, and he swallows the wine.
You guessed wrong.
You think I guessed wrong? That's what's so funny. I switched glasses when your back was turned, you fool! You fell victim to one of the classic blunders. The most famous is never get involved in a land war in Asia. But only slightly less well known is this: never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line.
Laughs and laughs, and then falls dead. The man in black steps past the corpse and takes the blindfold and bindings off of Buttercup, who notices Vicini's lying body. The man in black pulls her to her feet.
Who are you?
I'm no one to be trifled with. That is all you ever need know.
To think, all that time it was your cup that was poisoned.
They were both poisoned. I spent the last few years building up an immunity to iocane powder.
And with that, they take off. On the mountain path is where we see Fessick, where Fessick fought the man in black. The camera pulls back to reveal the prince, kneeling, inspecting every grain of misplaced sand. The others wait behind him.
Someone has beaten a giant. Ooh! There will be suffering in Gilda if she dies.
He leaps onto his horse and charges off. On a wild stretch of terrain, the man in black comes running into view, still dragging Buttercup, who sometimes stumbles, but he keeps forcing her along. Finally, when she is close to exhaustion, he lets her go.
Catch your breath.
If you'll release me, whatever you ask for ransom, you'll get it. I promise you.
And what is that worth? The promise of a woman. You're very funny, Highness.
I was giving you a chance. No matter where you take me, there is no greater hunter than Prince Humperdinck. He could track a falcon on a cloudy day. He can find you.
You think your dearest love will save you?
I never said he was my dearest love. And yes, he will save me. That I know.
You admit to me you do not love your fiancé?
He knows I do not love him.
Are not capable of love is what you mean.
I have loved more deeply than a killer like yourself could ever dream.
That was a warning, Highness. The next time, my hand flies on its own. For where I come from, there are penalties when a woman lies.
Cut to Vicini's body at the picnic. The camera pulls back to reveal the prince kneeling by the body. The prince grabs the empty poison packet and hands it to Rogan, after first sniffing it himself.
Iocane, I'd bet my life on it. And there are the princess's footprints. She is alive, or was an hour ago. If she is otherwise when I find her, I shall be very put out.
Rest, Highness.
I know who you are. Your cruelty reveals everything. You're the dread pirate Roberts. Admit it.
With pride. Hold on. What can I do for you?
You can die slowly, cut into 1,000 pieces.
Hardly complimentary, Your Highness. Why loose your venom on me?
You killed my love.
It's possible. I kill a lot of people. Who was this love of yours? Another prince? Like this one? Ugly, rich, scabby?
No, a farm boy. Poor, poor and perfect, with eyes like the sea after a storm. On the high seas, your ship attacked, and the dread pirate Roberts never takes prisoners.
I can't afford to make exceptions. Once word leaks out that a pirate has gone soft, people begin to disobey you, and then it's nothing but work, work, work all the time.
You mock my pain.
Life is pain, Highness. Anyone who says differently is selling something. Remember this farm boy of yours, I think? This would be, what, 5 years ago? Does it bother you to hear?
Nothing you can say will upset me.
He died well. That should please you. No bribe attempts or blubbering. He simply said, please, please, I need to live. It was the word please that caught my memory. I asked him what was so important for him. True love, he replied. And then he spoke of a girl's passing beauty and faithfulness. I can only assume he meant you. You should bless me for destroying him before he found out what you really are.
And what am I?
Faithfulness he talked of, madam. Your enduring faithfulness. Now tell me truly, when you found out he was gone, did you get engaged to your prince the same hour, or did you wait a whole week out of respect for the dead?
You mocked me once. Never do it again. I died that day.
The man in black is about to reply when we see at the edge of the sheer ravine, then something catches his attention. From his point of view, the dust clouds caused by Humperdinck's horses are rising up into the sky. Buttercup, while his attention is on the dust clouds, rises high. She pushes him with all the strength she has.
You can die too, for all I care.
The man in black goes tittering down the ravine to the ravine's edge. For a moment, then he begins to fall. Down goes the man in black, down, down, rolling, spinning, crashing, always down toward the flat rock floor of the ravine. Buttercup staring transfixed at what she wrought. There is a long pause. She stands there alone, as from far below the words come to her drifting on the wind.
As you wish.
Oh, my sweet Wesley, what have I done?
And without a second thought or consideration of the dangers, she starts into the ravine. She too is falling, spinning, twisting, crashing, and torn, cartwheeling down toward what is left of her beloved. The dust cloud rises and pulls back to reveal Prince Humperdinck, and the others are reining in at the spot where Buttercup promised ransom in exchange for freedom. The prince shakes his head.
Disappeared! He must have seen us closing in, which might account for his panicking and error. Unless I'm wrong, and I am never wrong. They are headed dead into the fire swamp.
The mere mention of the fire swamp makes him pale. On the ravine floor, the two bodies lie a few feet apart, not moving. It is, of course, Buttercup and Wesley. They might be corpses. After a time, Wesley slowly forces his body into motion, and as he does, Buttercup is bruised and torn, and Wesley crawls slowly towards her.
Can you move at all?
Move? You're alive. If you want, I can fly.
I told you, I would always come for you. Why didn't you wait for me?
Well, you are dead.
Death cannot stop true love. All it can do is delay it for a while.
I will never doubt again.
There will never be a need.
And they begin to kiss. It's a tender, loving, and gentle kiss. Oh, Jared's muted.
Sorry. Oh, no, please.
What is it? What's the matter?
They're kissing again? Do we have to hear the kissing part?
Yeah, someday you may not mind so much.
Skip to the fire swamp. That sounded good.
Oh, you're sick. I'll humor you. So now where were we here? Yeah. Oh, okay. Wesley and Buttercup raced along the ravine floor.
Wesley glances up. Humperdinck and his men are perched on top of the cliff, looking down at Wesley and Buttercup.
Your pig fiancé is too late. A few more steps and we'll be safe in the fire swamp.
We'll never survive.
Nonsense. You're only saying that because no one ever has.
They race off, leaving Humperdinck and his men stranded and defeated. In the fire swamp. It really doesn't look any worse than any other moist, sulfurous, infernal horror you might run across. Great trees block the sun. Wesley and Buttercup are clearly panicked. Maybe Wesley is too, but he moves jauntily along, sword in hand.
It's not that bad. I'm not saying I'd like to build a summer home here, but the trees are actually quite lovely.
The giant trees, thick and black and green, look ominous as hell, and they shield all but intermittent stripes of sun. A giant spurt of flame leaps up, preceded by a slight popping sound, and this particular spurt of flame misses Wesley, but Buttercup is suddenly on fire. At least the lower half of her is. Wesley instantly forces Buttercup to sit, gathering her flaming hem in his hands. He does his best to suffocate the fire. This isn't all that easy, and it causes him a bit of grief, but he does his best to sound as jaunty as before.
Well, now, that was an adventure. Singed a bit, were you?
You?
On the swamp floor, there is another popping sound. Wesley grabs Buttercup and pulls her side to safety as another great flame suddenly shoots up.
Well, one thing I will say, the fire swamp certainly does keep you on your toes.
Buttercup is frozen in fear, but he takes her hand and gently leads her forward. The two of them are moving slowly along through a particularly dangerous part of the fire swamp. It's later now. The sun slants down at a slightly different angle.
This will all soon be but a happy memory because Robert's ship Revenge is anchored at the far end, and I, as you know, am Robert's.
But how is that possible? Since he's been marauding 20 years and you only left me 5 years ago.
I myself am often surprised at life's little quirks.
He pulls her clear of another flame spurt.
You see, what I told you before about saying please was true. It intrigued Roberts, as did my descriptions of your beauty. Finally, Roberts decided.
Go ahead.
Finally, Roberts decided something. He said, "All right, Wesley, I've never had a valet. Try it for tonight. I'll most likely kill you in the morning." 3 years he said that. Good night, Wesley. Good night, Wesley. Good work. Sleep well. I'll most likely kill you in the morning. It was a fine time for me. I was learning to fence, to fight, anything anyone would teach me. And Roberts and I eventually became friends. And then it happened.
What? Go on.
Well, Roberts had grown so rich, he wanted to retire. So he took me to his cabin and told me a secret. "I am not the dread pirate Roberts," he said. "My name is Ryan. I inherited this ship from the previous dread pirate Roberts, just as you will inherit it from me. The man I inherited from was not the real dread pirate Roberts either. His name was Cummerbund. The real Roberts has been retired 15 years and living like a king in Patagonia." Then he explained the name was the important thing for inspiring the necessary fear. You see, no one would surrender to the dread pirate Wesley. So we sailed ashore, took on an entirely new crew, and he stayed aboard for a while as first mate, all the time calling me Roberts. Once the crew believed, he left the ship, and I have been Roberts ever since. Except now that we're together, I shall retire and hand the name over to someone else. Is everything clear to you?
Buttercup is about to reply when she steps on, where she steps gives way. It's lightning sand, a great patch of it. And it has her. A cloud of powder rises as she sinks into the stuff, crying Wesley's name. Wesley, whirling, slashes at a U-shaped vine and hacks it in half, and its sails connected to the tree, and it's still connected to the tree. He grabs it, drops his sword, and clutching the other end of the vine, he dives into the lightning sand. And there's another cloud of white powder, but it settles quickly. Now nothing can be seen, nothing at all, just the lightning sand, lovely and lethal. An odd panting sound is heard now. The panting sound is suddenly very loud, and then a giant rodent of unusual size darts into view. The ROUS is probably no more than 80 pounds of bone and power. It sniffs around a bit then, as quickly as it has come. From the lightning sand, Wesley lunges long past the bursting point and explodes out. He has Buttercup across his shoulders, and he pulls to the edge of the lightning sand pit using the vine. Buttercup, her face is caked with the white powder. It's in her eyes, her ears, her hair. She's still probably beautiful, but you have to look awfully hard to see it. As Wesley continues to pull them to safety, the RUS is high above them. Buttercup is placed against the tree. Wesley is cleaning the lightning sand from her face. He hesitates and glances around. The RUSs are much lower now. It stares down at Wesley. Wesley stares back. Buttercup is oblivious. Her eyes flutter, and he continues to.
We'll never succeed. We may as well die here.
No, no. We have already succeeded.
The RUSs have climbed into a nearby tree and stare hungrily down.
I mean, what are the 3 terrors of the fire swamp? 1, the flame spurts, no problem. There's a popping sound preceding each. We can avoid that. 2, lightning sand. But you were clever enough to discover what that looks like. So in the future, we can avoid that too.
Wesley, what about the ROUSs?
Rodents of unusual size? I don't think they exist.
And the RUS comes flying at him from off screen. Buttercup is screaming, Wesley pinned under the attacking RUS. Oh. Wesley dives a fist into the beast's face, rolling it off. He reaches for his sword just a few feet away, but the RUS is back on top of him. It's a fierce battle. And just when we think Wesley can't possibly win, he flips the ugly rodent clear. Wesley scrambles for his sword. The RUS stampedes on, changing its target, heading right for Buttercup. She's scared to death. Wesley abandons his sword and reaches for the rodent, grabbing only a tail, wrestling with it. Buttercup grabs a small branch and using it as a club, he beats the skull of the thing, doing pretty well. But the beast manages to snag her with his razor sharp teeth. She's pulled to the ground. Wesley jumps onto its back. The RUS is all over him now, sinking needle teeth into Wesley's shoulder. Wesley, with death close at hand, a popping sound starts. He tries one desperate move and rolls to the sound. The flame spurt shoots skyward. Wesley, with the RUS pinned under him, the beast spurts into flames. It lets go, and Wesley rolls safely free, grabs his sword, and exhaustedly stabs the RUS, which is trying to put itself out. The RUS collapses dead. Wesley stands motionless and exhausted. The danger has passed. Buttercup is relieved, and they have reached the far edge of the fire swamp. Beyond is a beach.
We did it!
Was that so terrible?
And from somewhere, they summon the strength to pick up the pace. And as they reach the end of the fire swamp, something we hadn't expected. Humperdinck is there on horse. Rogan is beside him. 3 warriors are armed and ready, are mounted in formation behind them. Buttercup and Wesley are at the edge of the fire swamp about to leave, but they stop. Buttercup looks beyond exhausted, and Wesley looks worse.
Surrender.
You mean you wish to surrender to me? Very well, I accept.
I give you full marks for bravery. Don't make yourself a fool.
Ah, but how will you capture us? We know the secrets of the fire swamp. We can live there quite happily for some time. So whenever you feel like dying, feel free to visit.
I tell you once again, surrender.
It will not happen.
An armed warrior is there. Buttercup is looking the other way. Another warrior comes. His crossbow.
Last time, surrender.
Death first.
Buttercup is frantic.
Will you promise not to hurt him?
What was that?
What was that?
If we surrender and I return with you, will you promise not to hurt this man?
May I live 1,000 years and never hunt again.
He's a sailor on the pirate ship Revenge. Promise to return him to his ship.
I swear it will be done.
Buttercup and Wesley stare deep into each other's eyes. Humperdinck to Rogan.
Once we're out of sight, take him back to Florin and throw him in the pit of despair.
I swear it will be done.
I thought you were dead once, and it almost destroyed me. I could not bear it if you died again. Not when I could save you.
Wesley is dazed. Buttercup tries to speak again but can't, as she is swooped off her feet onto Humperdinck's horse, and off they go. Wesley stares after her. Rogan watches as the warriors bring Wesley to him. The Count has a heavy sword, and he holds it in his hand. Come, sir, we must get you to your ship.
We are men of action. Lies do not become us.
Well spoken, sir. What is it?
You have 6 fingers on your right hand. There's someone looking for you.
Count Rogan clubs Wesley hard across the skull. Cut to the pit of despair. It is dank and chill, underground and widowless, lit by flickering torches, frightening. Wesley lies in the center of the cage, chained and helpless. Something really frightening, a bloodless-looking albino, dead pale. He silently enters the pit, carrying a tray of food and medication. He puts it down.
Where am I?
The pit of despair. Don't even think. Don't even think of trying to escape. These are far too thick. And don't dream of being rescued either. The only way in is secret. And only the prince, the count, and I know how to get in and out.
Then I'm here till I die?
Till they kill you, yeah.
Then why bother curing me?
The prince and the count have always insisted on everyone being healthy before they're broken.
So it's to be torture. I can cope with torture. You don't believe me?
Well, you survived the fire swamp, you must be very brave. But nobody withstands the machine.
Cut to Buttercup. Her face is sad, pallid, perhaps ill. She wanders down a corridor in Florin Castle as she moves unseeing past an intersecting corridor. Prince Humperdinck and Count Rogan watch her.
She's been like that ever since the fire swamp. It's my father's failing health that's upsetting her.
Of course.
The king died that very night, and before the following dawn, Buttercup and Humperdinck were married.
The main square of Florin Castle. If we thought it was packed before, we didn't know how many more could fit in this courtyard. Humperdinck, Rogan, and the Queen stand high on the balcony.
And at noon, she met her subjects again, this time as their queen.
My father's final words were...
Hold it, Grandpa. You read that wrong. She doesn't marry Humperdinck, she marries Wesley, I'm sure of it. After all Wesley did for her, if she didn't marry him, it wouldn't be fair.
Well, who says life is fair? Where is that written? Life isn't always fair.
I'm telling you, you're messing up the story. Now get it right.
Do you want me to go on with this?
Yes.
All right then, no more interruptions. At noon, she met her subjects again, this time as queen.
My father's final words were, love her as I loved her, and there will be joy. I present to you your queen, Queen Buttercup.
The crowd is gigantic. From the archway we saw before, Buttercup emerges. The crowd goes to its knees, and wave after wave of silent kneeling people, all of them down. Buttercup is touched as before, but then she seems stunned, as from the crowd someone is booing.
Why do you do this?
Because you had love in your hands and you gave it up.
They would have killed Wesley if I hadn't done it.
Your true love lives and you marry another. True love saved her in the fire swamp and she treated it like garbage. And that's what she is, the queen of refuge. So bow down to her if you want. Bow to her. Bow to the queen of slime, the queen of filth, the queen of Persistence! Boo! Boo! Rubbish! Filth! Slime! Muck! Boo! Boo!
Buttercup comes out of a nightmare. Alone in her castle bedroom, she frantically grabs a robe and starts to run.
It was 10 days till the wedding. The king still lived, but Buttercup's nightmares were growing steadily worse.
See, didn't I tell you she'd never marry that rotten Humperdinck?
Yes, you're very smart. Shut up.
It has come to this. I love Wesley. I always have. I know now I always will. If you tell me I must marry you in 10 days, please believe I will be dead in the morning.
I could never cause you grief. Consider our wedding off. You return this Wesley to his ship, hmm?
Yes.
Then we will simply alert him. Beloved, are you certain he still wants you? I mean, after all, it was you who did the leaving at the fire swamp. Not to mention that pirates are not known to be men of their words.
My Wesley will always come for me.
I suggest you write 4 copies of a letter. I'll send my 4.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I think the deal is off.
In this time of year, we'll run up a white flag and deliver your message. Wesley, bless you both. If not, please consider me as an alternative to suicide. Are we agreed?
Cut to a very thick grove of trees. The trees are unusual in one respect. All of them are extraordinarily heavily knotted. We pull back to reveal Humperdinck and Rogan walking into the grove of trees. Your princess is quite a winning creature, a trifle simple perhaps, but her appeal is undeniable.
Oh, I know. The people are quite taken with her. It's odd. When I hired Vizzini to have her murdered on her engagement day, I thought that was clever, but it's going to be so much more moving when I strangle her on our wedding night. Once Gilda is blamed, the nation will be truly outraged. They'll demand we go to war.
Now, where is that secret knot? It's impossible to find. Ah, are you coming down into the pit? Wesley's got his strength back. I'm starting him on the machine tonight.
Tyrone, you know how much I love watching you work, but I've got my country's 500th anniversary to plan, my wedding to arrange, my wife to murder, to frame for it.
Get some rest. If you haven't got your health, you haven't got anything. Cut to an enormous thing. We can't tell quite what it is or what it does, but somehow it's unsettling. We pull back to reveal Count Rogan dragging Wesley up alongside this thing with levers, wheels, and wires. You name it, it's there. Beautiful, isn't it? It took me half a lifetime to invent it. I'm sure you've discovered my deep and abiding interest in pain. At present, I'm writing the definitive work on the subject, so I want you to be totally honest with me on how the machine makes you feel. This being our first try, I'll use the lowest setting. He turns the dial to 1. Wesley is attached to suction cups on his head and brow and temples, on his heart, his hands, his feet. He says nothing and keeps control of himself. Count Rogan fiddles with the machine a moment more. Then he opens the floodgates. Water pours down the chute, turning the wheel, which really gets the machine going. Wesley is lying on the table, and he's only flesh, and the chains are metal and thick. But such is his desperation, it almost seems he might break them. A terrible sound comes from his throat, an incessant gasping. It keeps on coming as we finally cut to Count Rogan switching off the machine. He picks up a large notebook and pen and sits in his chair. The noise in the machine subsides. Rogan opens up his book. As you know, the concept of the suction pump is centuries old. Well, really, that's all I'm doing, except instead of sucking water, I'm sucking life. I've just sucked 1 year of your life away. I might one day go as high as 5, but I really don't know what that will do to you. Tell me, and remember, this is for posterity, so be honest. How do you feel? Wesley is in anguish. Interesting. Cut to Humperdinck's quarters. He is swamped with piles of papers thrown all over. Now Yellen, a pale, shifty, quick-eyed man, appears in the doorway.
Yellen,
Saya,
as chief enforcer of all Florin, I trust you with this secret. Killers from Gilder are infiltrating the Thieves' Forest and plan to murder my bride on our wedding night.
my spy network has heard no such news.
Any word from Wesley?
Too soon, my angel. Patience.
He will come for me.
Of course. She will not be murdered. On the day of the wedding, I want the Thieves' Forest emptied and every inhabitant arrested.
Many of the thieves will resist. My regular enforcers will be inadequate.
Form a brute squad, then. I want the Thieves' Forest emptied before I wed.
It won't be easy, sire.
Try ruling the world sometime.
Cut to the Thieves' Forest at day. A lot of hollering is going on. The thieves are being rounded up by the brute squad. A large group of large men. Yellen stands on a wagon in the midst of all the scuffling.
The day of the wedding arrived. The brute squad had their hands full carrying out Humperdinck's orders.
Is everybody out? Almost. There's a Spaniard giving us some trouble. Well, you give him some trouble. And his wagon starts. I think it was Ellis who, Jim Ellis was supposed to be our, oh well.
I can take that over if you want.
No, sure, if somebody wants to jump in, please go for it.
I'll be your ruin if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Inigo, cut to Inigo, drunk as a skunk, sprawled in front of a hovel. A bottle of brandy is in one hand, the six-fingered sword in the other. He looks dreadful, unshaven, puffy-eyed, gaunt, but the way he brandishes the great sword in front of him would give anyone cause for worry.
I am waiting for you, Vizzini. You told me to go back to the beginning, so I have. This is where I am, and this is where I'll stay. I will not be moved.
Go there.
I do not budge. Keep your whore there.
The prince gave orders.
So did Vizzini. The job went wrong. You went back to the beginning. And this is where we got the job. So this is the beginning, and I'm staying till Vizzini comes.
You brute, come here.
I'm waiting for Vizzini.
You surely are a meanie.
Scott, you're muted.
Inigo feels a hand on his back, a huge hand. He compares it to his own smaller hand. Scott's muted.
Who's Fezzik?
You don't look so good. You don't smell so good either.
It's you.
Fezzik puts Inigo down. That's when Inigo faints, and as he does, an empty alehouse in the thieves' quarters. Inigo sits slumped into a chair while Fezzik spoons him some stew.
Fezzik and Inigo were reunited, and as Fezzik nursed his inebriated friend back to health, he told Inigo of Vizzini's death and the existence of Count Rugen, the six-fingered man. Considering Inigo's lifelong search, he handled the news surprisingly well.
As he faints into the stew. Cut to two large tubs, one filled with steaming water, the other with clear, icy water. Without a word, Fezzik stuffs Inigo's head into the icy water, then into the other, back and forth and back and forth.
Fezzik took great care in reviving Inigo.
That's enough! That's enough! Where is this? Okay, so I will kill him.
He's with the prince in the castle, but the castle gate is guarded by 30 men.
How many could you handle?
I don't think more than 10.
That leaves 20 for me. At my best, I could never defeat that many. I need Vizzini to plan. I have no gift for strategy. But Vizzini's dead. No, not Vizzini. I need the man in black.
What?
Look, he bested you with strength, your greatness. He bested me with this steel. He must have outthought Vizzini. The man who can do that can plan my castle's onslaught any day. Let's go!
Well.
To find the man in black, obviously.
But you don't know where he is.
Don't bother me with rifles. After 20 years, at last, my father's soul will be at peace. There will be blood tonight!
Cut to Prince Humperdinck's chambers. He is strewn with maps, etc., and Yellen enters and kneels.
Rise and report.
The thieves' forest is emptied. 30 men guard the castle gate.
Double it. My princess must be safe.
The gate has but one key, and I carry that.
Ah, my dulcet darling, tonight we marry. Tomorrow morning your men will escort us to Florin Channel, where every ship in my armada waits to accompany us on our honeymoon.
Every ship but your 4 fastest, you mean? Every ship but the 4 you sent.
Yes, of course. Naturally, not those 4.
You never sent the ships. Don't bother lying. It doesn't matter. Wesley will come for me anyway.
You're a silly girl.
Yes, I am a silly girl for not having seen sooner that you are nothing but a coward with a heart full of fear.
I would not say such things if I were you.
Why not? You can't hurt me. Wesley and I are joined by the bonds of love, and you cannot track that. Not with 1,000 bloodhounds, and you cannot break it. Not with 1,000 swords. And when I say you are a coward, that is only because you are the slimiest weakling ever to crawl this earth.
I would not say such things if I were you.
And with that, we cut to a corridor in the castle as the prince throws open the door to Buttercup's room and slams it shut. He locks and breaks into a wild run to Wesley at the machine, but it's not on. Count Rogan is adding more notes to his book. He looks up at the prince and prince suddenly comes down, raging.
You truly love each other, and so you might have been truly happy. Not one couple in a century has that chance, no matter what storybooks say. And so I think no man in a century will suffer as greatly as you.
And with that, he whirls and turns on the machine and grabs the lever.
Not to 50!
But it's too late. Prince Humperdinck has shoved the lever all the way up. Wesley's face. There has never been such pain. The pain grows and grows, and with it now something else has started, the death scream. As the death scream starts to rise outside the pit of despair, and in front of Yellen and his 60 brutes, in Buttercup's room, the establishing shot across the river, and all the way to Inigo and Fessick as they try to make their way through the jammed marketplace.
Fessick, listen, do you hear? That is the sound of ultimate suffering. My heart made that sound when Rogan slaughtered my father. The man in black, he makes it now.
The man in black?
His true love is marrying another tonight. So who else has cause for ultimate suffering? Excuse me. Pardon me. Is it what? Fezzik, please.
Everybody move!
And the crowd begins to fall away as he and Inigo start to track the fading sound.
Thank you.
In the grove of trees near the pit of despair, the albino appears wheeling a barrow. Inigo's sword pushes at his chest.
Where is the man in black? You get there from this grove, yes? Fezzik, jog his memory.
The albino drops without a sound.
I'm sorry, Inigo. I didn't mean to knock him so hard. Inigo?
Inigo is kneeling, his sword held tight between his hands. His eyes are closed. He faces the grove of trees and starts to talk, his voice low and strange.
Father, I have failed you for 20 years. Now our misery can end. Somewhere close by is a man who can help us. I cannot find him alone. I need you. I need you to guide my sword. Please, guide my sword.
Inigo walks forward with the great sword held tight in his hand. Fezzik is frightened and follows close behind. The cut to the secret reveals the staircase. Inigo, walking blind through the grove of trees, moves towards the secret knot. He hesitates, then moves past it. Then Inigo stops, and for a long moment he stands frozen. Suddenly he whirls, his eyes still closed. The sword strikes home, dead center, into the knot. In utter despair, Inigo collapses against the tree and against the knot. The knot opens, revealing the staircase. Fezzik and Inigo look at each other, then start down. Cut to Wesley dead at the machine. Inigo is listening to his heart and shakes his head.
He's dead.
It just is not fair.
Grandpa, wait. What did Fezzik mean? He's dead. I mean, he didn't mean dead. Wesley's only faking, right?
You want me to read this or not?
Well, who gets Humperdinck?
I don't understand.
Kills Prince Humperdinck at the end. Somebody's got to do it. Is it Inigo? Who?
Nobody. Nobody kills him. He lives.
You mean he wins? Oh, Jesus, Grandpa. What did you read me this thing for?
You know, you've been very sick and you're taking this story very seriously. I think we better stop now.
No, I'm okay. Sit down, all right?
Okay. All right now. Let's see, where were we? Oh yes, the pit of despair.
Well, we Montoyas have never taken defeat easily. Come along, Fezzik. Bring the body.
The body?
Have you any money?
I have a little.
I just hope it's enough to buy a miracle. That's all.
Cut to a hovel at dusk. Inigo, Fezzik, and dead Wesley approach the door. They knock. From inside the hovel is a little man's voice. If Mel Brooks's 1,000-year-old man was really old, he'd resemble this guy.
Go away! What?
Are you the Miracle Max who worked for the king all those years?
The king's stinking son fired me. And thank you so much for bringing up such a painful subject. While you're at it, why don't you give me a nice paper cut and pour lemon juice on it? We're closed. Beat it or I'll call the brute squad.
I am the brute squad. I'm on the brute squad.
You are the brute squad. Oh.
We need a miracle. It's very important.
Look, I'm retired. And besides, why would you want someone the king's stinking son fired? I might kill whoever you wanted me to miracle.
He's already dead.
He is, huh? All right, I'll take a look. Bring him in.
Inigo and Fezzik hurry inside. Fezzik carries Wesley, who is just starting to stiffen up a little. He lays Wesley down across a bench from the fireplace. Max picks up Wesley's arm and then drops it limp.
I've seen worse.
Sir.
Huh?
We really are in a terrible rush.
Don't rush me, Sonny. You rush a miracle, man, you get rotten miracles. You got money?
65.
Sheesh, I never worked for so little, except once. And that was a very noble cause.
Oh, this is noble, sir. His wife is crippled. His children are on the brink of starvation.
Oh, you a rotten liar.
I need him to help me avenge my father, murdered these 20 years.
Your first story was better. Who's that Bellows? Where's that Bellows? He probably owes you money, huh? Well, I'll ask him.
He's dead. He can't talk.
Huh, look who knows so much. Well, it just so happens that your friend here is only mostly dead. There's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead. Please, open his mouth. Now, mostly dead is slightly alive. Now, all dead, well, with all dead, there's usually only one thing you can do.
What is that?
Go through his clothes and look for loose change. Hey, hello in there. Hey, what's so important? What have you got here that's worth living for?
True love. You heard him. You could not ask for a more noble cause than that.
Sonny, true love is the greatest thing in the world, except for a nice MLT, a mutton, lettuce, and tomato sandwich, where the mutton is nice and lean and the tomato is ripe. Oh, they're so perky. I love that. But that's not what he said. He distinctly said to blave. And as we all know, to blave means to bluff. So you're probably playing cards and he cheated.
Liar!
Get back, witch!
Witch, I'm your wife. But after what you just said, I'm not even sure I want to be that anymore.
Oh, you never had it so good.
True love. He said true love, Max. My God.
Don't say another word, Valerie.
He's afraid. Ever since Prince Humperdinck fired him, his confidence is shattered.
Why'd you say that name? You promised me you would never say that name.
What? Humperdinck? 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 Oh, Humperdinck!
Oh, I'm not listening. La 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 la.
A life expiring and you don't have the decency to say what you won't help?
Nobody's hearing nothing.
Humperdinck! Humperdinck! Humperdinck!
Shut up.
This is Buttercup's true love. If you hear him, he will stop Humperdinck's wedding.
Shut up. Will you shut? Wait. I'll make him better. Humperdinck suffers.
Oh, humiliations galore.
That is a noble cause. Give me the 65. I'm on the job.
Cut to a lump, which is somewhat smaller than a tennis ball. We reveal that Max and Valerie, exhausted, are looking at the lump with beatific pleasure as Valerie, with a cooking utensil in hand, covers it with what looks like chocolate. Inigo and Fezzik stare at this thing, but more dubiously.
That is a miracle pill.
The chocolate coating makes it so it goes down easier, but you have to wait 15 minutes for full potency. And you shouldn't go swimming after for at least, what?
Hour.
Yeah, an hour.
A good hour, yeah.
Oh, thank you for everything.
Okay.
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle.
Think it'll work?
It would take a miracle. Bye.
Bye.
Cut to Fezzik, Inigo, and Wesley on the top of the outer wall of the castle. They look down to the front gate. There are 60 brutes visible. Fezzik is thunderstruck by how many brutes there are. Upset, he turns to Inigo, who is concentrating unsuccessfully at trying to prop Wesley's mouth, prop Wesley against the wall.
Inigo, there's more than 30.
What is the difference? We've got him. Help me here. We'll have to force feed him.
Has it been 15 minutes?
Oh, we can't wait. The wedding's in half an hour and we must strike in the hustle and the bustle beforehand.
Fessick uses
Tilt his head back. Now, open his mouth.
How long do we have to wait before we know if the miracle works?
Your guess is as good as mine.
I'll beat you with a horn. I'll take you both together.
That's not very long.
Why won't my arms move?
You've been mostly dead all day.
We had Miracle Max make appeal to bring you back to life.
Who are you? Are we enemies? Why am I on this wall? Where's Buttercup?
Let me explain. No, there is too much to explain. Let me sum up. Buttercup is marrying Humperdinck in a little less than half an hour, so all we have to do is get in, break up the wedding, steal the princess, make our escape after I kill Cantaruga.
That doesn't leave much time for dilly-dallying.
You've just wiggled your finger. That's wonderful.
I've always been a quick healer. What are our liabilities?
There is but one working castle gate. And it is guarded by 60 men.
And our assets?
Your brains, physics strength, and my steel.
That's it? Impossible. If I had a month to plan, maybe I could come up with something, but this?
You just shook your head. That doesn't make you happy?
My brains, his steel, and your strength against 60 men, and you think a little head jiggle is supposed to make me happy? I mean, if only we had a wheelbarrow, that might be something.
Where did we put that wheelbarrow the albino had?
Over the albino, I think.
Well, why didn't you list that among your assets in the first place? What I wouldn't give for a Holocaust cloak.
There, we cannot help you.
Will this do?
Where did you get that?
At Miracle Max's. It fits so nice. He said I could keep it.
All right. Come on, help me up. Now, I'll need a sword. Eventually.
Why? You can't even lift one.
True, but that's hardly common knowledge, isn't it? Thank you. Now, there may be problems once we're inside.
I'll say. How do I find the Count? Once I do, how do I find you again? Once I find you again, how do we escape?
Don't pester him. He's had a very hard day.
Right. I'm sorry.
The three of
Amigo.
them profile.
Amigo,
What?
I hope we win.
Cut to Buttercup in her bridal gown. She is incredible. It's not just her beauty. There is a tranquility about her. We pull back to reveal that the prince is there, fastening a pearl necklace around her.
You don't seem excited, my little muffin.
Should I be?
Brides often are, I'm told.
I do not marry tonight. My Wesley will save me.
Her Wesley is looking down at the gate with Inigo and Fessick. At the main gate, Yellen is standing there, flanked by 60 brutes. Wesley and Inigo and Fessick are looking out at the enemy. This is it. Inigo and Fessick shake hands. Wesley can't even do that, but after a bit of rocking back and forth, he manages to get enough momentum to catapult his arm over and onto his friends. In an absolute gem-like chapel, we pull back to reveal the most intelligent-looking, most impressive-appearing clergyman imaginable. Buttercup, Humperdinck are kneeling before the clergyman. Behind them sit the king and queen. Standing in the back is Count Rogan. 4 guards are in position, flanking the chapel door.
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today. Marriage, that blessed arrangement, that dream within a dream.
Stand your ground, men. It is a bit unnerving as the giant seems to be floating towards them out of the darkness. The giant is wearing a strange cloak, and with it is a voice that could crumble walls.
I am the dread parrot Wyvern. There will be no survivors.
It is Fessick. He seems to be floating because he's standing in the wheelbarrow, as Inigo, hidden behind him, busts a gut, pushing it and supporting Wesley.
No.
Not yet.
My men are here, and I am here, but soon you will not be here.
Yellen is keeping the brutes in position, or trying to, shouting orders, instructions as yet the brutes hold. Inigo struggles bravely under their combined weight.
No!
Light him!
The dread pirate Robert takes no survivors. All your worst nightmares are about to come true.
Cut to the chapel.
Then Wav, Woo, Wav will follow you forever and ever and ever and ever.
He gives a sharp nod to Count Rogan, who immediately takes off the chapel with the 4 guards. As we return to music.
The dread pirate Robert is here. For your souls.
Stay where you are. I said stay where you are. Return to the chapel.
So a treasure, your Wav.
Yep, to the end.
Have you the ring?
Here comes my Wesley now.
Cut to Fessick as he pulls off the Holocaust cloak.
Fessick, the portcullis.
Fessick rushes forward, grabbing the portcullis, which is indeed closing quickly. Fessick grabs the gate and swings the tonnage back upward. Yellen just watches in fear. Back to the chapel.
Your Wesley is dead. I killed him myself.
Then why is there fear behind your eyes?
Cut to Yellen. He's pressed up against the gate. Wesley, Inigo, and Fessick close in.
Give us the gate key.
I have no gate key.
Fessick, there is some stuff.
Oh, you meant this gate key. Cut to Humperdinck and Buttercup and the impressive clergyman.
And do you, Princess Buttercup?
Man and wife. Say man and wife.
Man and wife.
Escort the bride to the honeymoon suite. I'll be there shortly.
And he dashes off. Buttercup is dazed.
He didn't come.
Count Rogan and his 4 warriors are racing through the castle, and as they reach a complex intersection of several corridors, Rogan stops, incredulous, as we see Wesley, Inigo, and Fessick moving toward them. Actually, Fessick is dragging Wesley, who is in turn dragging Yellen's sword like a stiff dog leash. Wesley simply hasn't the strength to raise it. Count Rogan, as the confrontation is about to start.
Kill the dark one and the giant, but leave the third one for questioning.
And as the warriors attack, Inigo goes wild. And maybe the warriors are good. Maybe they're even better than that. But they never get a chance to show it because this is something now. This is Inigo gone mad, and the 6-fingered sword has never flashed faster. And the 4th warrior's dead before the first one has even hit the floor. There's a pause. Then.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Count Rogan stands there, sword in hand. Then he does a most unexpected thing. He turns and runs the hell away. Inigo is momentarily surprised, then taking off after him, leaving Wesley and Fessick to exchange looks. and Rogan is running through a half-open heavy wooden door, shutting it and locking it just as Inigo throws himself against it. He tries again. No kind of chance.
Fezzik! I need you!
I can't leave him alone.
He's getting away from me! Fezzik, please!
I'll be right back.
He props Wesley against a large suit of armor and takes off toward the intersection where Inigo's voice is coming from. Inigo is still hammering the door. Fezzik approaches and gestures for him to stop, and with one mighty swipe of his mighty hands, the door crumbles.
Thank you.
Inigo flies through as Fezzik heads back to Wesley. Buttercup is walking with the king and queen. The queen, more sprightly, and is several paces ahead.
It was a strange wedding.
Yes, a very strange wedding. Come along.
Buttercup gently stops with the king and places a kiss on his forehead. He's surprised and pleased.
What was that for?
Because you've always been so kind to me. And I won't be seeing you again since I'm killing myself once we reach the honeymoon suite.
Oh, won't that be nice? She kissed me.
And we return to Count Rogan as he is running, dashing through corridors. And as he glances back behind him, Inigo is there, coming like a streak. At the intersection with a large suit of armor, Fezzik stands staring at all those choices and trying to piece together the of a Wesley. Count Rogan flashes out of one room, down a staircase. Picking up his pace, he pulls out a deadly-looking dagger, and with a sharp point and a triangular-shaped blade, he sprints on, Inigo closing the gap, closer and closer, and he's down the stairs, heading into a dining hall, and Count Rogan throws the dagger. Inigo, trying like hell to get out of the way, but no, it sticks deep in his stomach, and he hurtles back helplessly against the wall of the room, his eyes glazed, blood coming from his wound.
Sorry, Father. I tried.
You must be that little Spanish brat I taught a lesson to all those years ago. It's simply incredible. Have you been chasing me your whole life only to fail now? I think that's the worst thing I've ever heard. How marvelous.
Cut to Buttercup, who has shut the door to the honeymoon suite, crossing quietly to the far wall where she sits at a table, opens a jeweled box, and takes out a very deadly-looking dagger. She seems very much at peace as she touches the knife to her bosom.
There's a shortage of perfect breasts in this world. It would be a pity to damage yours.
Buttercup whirls and we see Wesley lying on the bed. Yellen's sword is behind him. His voice sounds just fine, but he doesn't move. Buttercup leaps to the bed and covers him with kisses. Wesley is helpless.
Oh, Wesley, darling.
Gently.
Wesley, why won't you hold me?
Gently.
At a time like this, that's all you can think to say? Gently?
Gently.
We return to Count Rogan, looking very much surprised.
Good heavens. Are you still trying to win?
Inigo, struggling feebly, has pulled the dagger from his stomach and holds the wound with his left hand. Rogan is pushing off from the table, sword in hand, and moving in to kill Inigo.
You've got an overdeveloped sense of vengeance. It's going to get you in trouble someday.
Inigo watches the Count approach, and the Count flicks his sword at Inigo's heart. There is not much Inigo can do, just kind of vaguely parry the thrust with the six-fingered sword, and Count Rogan's blade sinks deeply into Inigo's left shoulder. Inigo doesn't seem to feel it. His other agonies are so much worse. The Count steps back and goes for the heart again. Inigo, as this blow comes, he's trying to use the wall for support and forcing himself to his feet, and it's not a roaring success of an attempt, but he does at least make some progress, and again he manages to parry the thrust, as this time Rogan's sword runs through his right arm. Again, Inigo doesn't seem to mind. He doesn't even feel it. Count Rogan steps back just a moment, watching as Inigo continues to inch his way to his feet, and then, just before the Count is about to strike again, Inigo manages a little flick of his own, and Rogan hadn't expected it, and he jumps back and makes a little involuntary cry of surprise.
Ugh. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Rogan suddenly goes into a fierce attack and strikes with great power and precision, for he is a master swordsman too, and he forces Inigo easily back and drives him easily to the wall, but he does not penetrate Inigo's defense. None of the Count's blows get home, as the Count steps back a moment.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
The Count attacks again, slashing with wondrous skill, but none of his blows get through, and slowly, Inigo moves forward.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Saying that.
Inigo drives for the Count's left shoulder now and thrusts home where the Count had gotten him. Then another move, and his blade enters the Count's right shoulder, the same spot Inigo was wounded in.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
No!
Offer me money.
Yes.
Power to promise me that.
All that I have and more, please.
Offer me everything I ask for.
Anything you want.
I want my father back, you son of a bitch.
And with that, Inigo stabs the evil Count Rogan. Clear through the Count. They're almost frozen like that for a moment. Then Inigo withdraws his sword, and the Count pitches down. Rogan lies dead. His skin is ashen, and the blood still pours from the parallel cuts on his cheeks, and his eyes are bulging wide and full of fear. Inigo stares at Rogan, and now Inigo does something we have never seen him do before. He smiles, holds for just a moment. Return to the honeymoon suite. Wesley is lying there as before. Not a muscle has moved. His head is still on the headboard, and Yellen's sword is at his side. Buttercup is along the bed. Her eyes never leave his face.
Oh, Wesley, will you ever forgive me?
What hideous sin have you committed lately?
I got married. I didn't want to. It all happened so fast.
It never happened.
What?
It never happened.
But it did. I was there. This old man said man and wife.
Did you say I do?
Well, no, we sort of skipped that part.
Then you're not married. If you didn't say it, you didn't do it. Wouldn't you agree, Your Highness?
Cut to reveal Humperdinck.
A technicality that will shortly be remedied. But first things first. To the death.
No. To the pain.
I don't think I'm quite familiar with that phrase.
I'll explain. And I'll use small words so that you'll be sure to understand, you warthog-faced buffoon.
That may be the first time in my life a man has dared insult me.
It won't be the last. To the pain means the first thing you lose will be your feet, below the ankles. Then your hands at the wrist. Next, your nose.
And then my tongue, I suppose. I killed you too quickly the last time, a mistake I don't mean to duplicate tonight.
I wasn't finished. The next thing you will lose will be your left eye, followed by your right.
And then my ears, I understand. Let's get on with it.
Wrong! Your ears you keep, and I'll tell you why. So that every shriek of every child at seeing your hideousness will be yours to cherish. Every babe that weeps at your approach, every woman who cries out, "Dear God, what is that thing?" will echo in your perfect ears. That is what to the pain means. It means I leave you in anguish, wallowing in freakish misery forever.
I think you're bluffing.
It's possible, pig. I might be bluffing. It's conceivable, you miserable, vomitous mass, that I'm only lying here because I lack the strength to stand. Then again, perhaps I have the strength after all.
And slowly, Wesley begins to move. His feet go to the floor, and he stands with his sword in fighting position.
Drop your sword. Have a seat. Tie him up. Make it as tight as you like.
Enter Inigo.
Where's Fezzik?
I thought he was with you.
No.
In that case,
Help him,
Why does Wesley need helping?
because he has no strength.
I knew it! I knew you were bluffing! I knew you were bluffing!
Shall I dispatch him for you?
Thank you, but no. Whatever happens to us, I want him to live a long life alone with his cowardice.
Amigo, where are you? Oh, there you are. Amigo, I saw the prince's stables and there were 4 black horses. And I thought, there are 4 of us. If we ever find the lad, hello lad. So I took him with me in case we ever bumped into each other. I guess we just did.
Fezzik, you did something right.
Oh, don't worry. I won't let it go to my head.
Something unexpected and very lovely happens. Buttercup floating through the air. What's happening, of course, is that she has jumped from the balcony so Fezzik can catch her. But her fall is in slow motion, so you might think she was flying. Wesley and Inigo watch as Fezzik catches Buttercup.
You know, it's very strange. I've been in the revenge business so long. Now that it's over, I don't know what to do with the rest of my life.
Have you ever considered piracy? You'd make a wonderful Dread Pirate Roberts.
And from that, the 4 glorious white horses with their 4 riders triumphantly race through the night.
They rode to freedom, and as dawn arose, Wesley and Buttercup knew they were safe. A wave of love swept over them, and as they reached for each other...
What?
No, it's kissing again. You don't want to hear it.
I don't mind so much.
Okay. Since the invention of the kiss, there have been 5 kisses that were rated the most passionate, the most pure. This one left them all behind. The end. Now I think you ought to go to sleep.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So long.
Grandpa? Maybe you could come over and read it again to me tomorrow?
As you wish.
And his smile is enough as the grandfather steps out the door, tipping his hat. Final fade out. The end. All right, yay! Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Fun?
Great job, everyone.
My pleasure.
Yeah, Jim Ellis was our assigned Rogan, but
That's on me. Sorry.
Maybe he got the time wrong.
it's all right.
Maybe. Well, I know he really was very interested and excited to do it. So but I don't know. I don't know what happened.
All righty.
It's all right. You did a great Rogan, Ash.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
You did.